Right now in Washington, D.C., several people have been injured. Could it have started from some sort of a car chase, or was that the end result after these shots were fired when police were then on the scene and a car chase ensued? We do not have any of those details exact for you at this moment in time. But at 2:30 right now, Eastern Time in Washington, D.C., yet another shooting happening in Washington, D.C. Just a few weeks ago, we had another very horrific episode in our nation's capital. Let's go to Trace Gallagher right now, who's following the breaking details for us. Trace, what do you know?
And as all of these things happen, Gretchen, you know, it kind of unfolds slowly. You hear this is possibly the end of a car chase that ended with gunshots, but then you hear that several people are injured, and you wonder how that all comports. Now, you have a number of police officers on scene, and as you said, there is now a shelter-in-place order for the Capitol. So what happens now is you'll have police get on scene right now and trying to figure out where the shots came from. Did they come from outside the Capitol, as we're now reporting? Remember, when this thing first broke, the reports were it came from inside. They quickly corrected that, saying it came from outside the Capitol. But the police demeanor right there, and keep in mind, this is not live video. This is not live. This is videotape that we got in just a few minutes ago. So the police presence there, we're now getting, this is on 1st and Constitution Avenue. Reports of shots fired are confirmed, and officers injured is now unconfirmed. And again, it's the early going. Gretchen, we're going to go back to you and try and find some more information about this.
All right, thanks so much, Trace. Let's go out to Mike Emanuel, who's live on the scene there for us in the nation's capital. Mike, what can you tell us has happened in just the last couple of minutes there?
Well, Gretchen, I heard a series of sirens go flying by. I'm in the Senate Russell office building next to the Capitol, and it's obviously quite unusual to hear all these emergency vehicles go, you know, cruising right by the building, but we knew something was up, and then we heard some police officers say, stay away from the windows, get inside, and the warning that's being broadcast on the Senate television system here is to go inside, get away from the windows, get as far away from this possible trouble as possible. We've heard shots fired outside, but we're not clear how many and if they, in fact, hurt anybody. So it's in one of these breaking news modes where you're trying to figure out exactly what happened. And let's go to my colleague Chad Pergram, our senior Capitol Hill course producer. Chad, what do you have?
We are hearing right now that there is at least one injured Capitol Police officer, and we may very quickly here see a medevac helicopter arrive, maybe to take that person out. This happened in an area that appears to be sort of between the House and the Capitol building and Constitution Avenue, in sort of a press area where there's a lot of news conferences and things. We may very soon see a helicopter come here. They came running through the halls telling everybody to get back in their offices, get back in their offices. I stepped out to try to figure out what was going on, and they shooed me immediately back into my office. I couldn't get back in because they had locked all the doors. So this is very chaotic. The House of Representatives had just started debating a miniature spending bill here to deal with some of the government funding for the Veterans Administration. They immediately recessed subject to the call of the chair, but there were multiple shots heard by a number of sources out here. And so we're trying to figure out what's going on, but it's very chaotic. It's been a long time since I've seen them lock down the Capitol to this degree. And the thought is shelter in place, the idea that they get people inside the building and they are actually safer there because it is chaos outside right now.
All right, Chad Pergram, our producer on the scene there. Chad, I'm seeing reports here now that at least one Capitol Hill police officer has been injured. Some reports are saying that several police officers have been injured. Do you have anything more to add to that?
Yeah, that's the best we can do at this point. I mean, there's a lot of guards that stand out by that door. There's a couple of driveways that come in, so that's usually a very heavy police presence. And so there's a lot of officers that work the actual door as you get into the Capitol. There's a guard shack there as well. Since I've been talking to you here, the Senate now has went out in recess subject to the call of the chair, meaning they are out until further notice, until they are recalled, if they're going to be recalled. And again, you know, one of the issues of paramount concern here on Capitol Hill is the safety of the staff and the members. We had an incident just a few months ago where a man who was, out of it mentally ran up the steps when there were members coming down the steps after a vote. He didn't have anything on him, but they really, took that very seriously. They tackled him toward the top of the steps. They were very concerned about that. And in July of 1998, there was a shooting here where they killed two Capitol police officers. Jacob Chestnut was one of them, and an officer who was on Tom DeLay's detail at the time. He came in through a door and shot people immediately, and to that point, those were the only two people ever killed defending the U.S. Capitol. That was in July of 1998.
All right, Chad Pergram giving us the latest details there. Now it's just breaking news coming into Fox that there may have, in fact, been those shots fired inside the Capitol building, as was originally reported, then quickly changed to outside. Let's get right to our Catherine Herridge, who may have the very latest on that. Catherine, what can you tell us?
Yeah, thank you very much, Gretchen. A short time ago, I was not able to get through immediately to someone at Homeland Security because of the government shutdown. About 1 in 10 of the employees over at Homeland Security are out this week as a result, but I did reach the Operations Center. So this is the central hub where they monitor incoming threats here in the Washington, D.C. area and also nationally. And what they told me is that they had notification of shots fired outside the Capitol building, and they were getting calls in and they were investigating. What typically happens in this situation is that the Secretary of Homeland Security will be brought in, will be briefed, and they'll try and assess whether this is a D.C. situation or whether there may be some other intelligence indicating a connection, or as they like to say, a nexus to terrorism. Right now, just to remind people, we are without a head of Homeland Security. Janet Napolitano left over a month ago, so that position is vacant. But the facts I can give you right now is that DHS is aware. They're monitoring in their operations center, and just like the rest of us, they're trying to work out from what they call open source reporting. So this is media reporting of what's happening and the information that is being fed to them from D.C. police as well, because they have opened pipelines to D.C. police as well as Capitol Police. Gretchen.
All right, Catherine Herridge giving us all the details that she has been able to put together in just these last couple of minutes, since reports came out that there have been shots fired either inside or outside of the Capitol building in Washington, D.C., or both. Let's go to Peter Doocy, who's live for us on the phone now, also stationed in Washington, D.C. Peter, what do you know about the situation?
Gretchen, I can tell you that in the last few minutes, as soon as the call came in, I sprinted about 2 blocks across the park in front of the Senate buildings. The entire way over here, my entire sprint through that park, we were surrounded on all sides by vehicles speeding to the scene. As soon as we got here, we were kept completely away from Constitution Ave, which is basically the street in between the Senate office buildings where I am now and the actual U.S. Capitol dome. There are heavily armed officers who told us that basically we needed to get back. Just in the last few minutes, we also saw a SWAT vehicle, and there was an officer leaning out the back who was directing whoever the driver was basically to get closer, although we can't really tell which direction they're going. Just before the control room took me for this phoner, Gretchen, an officer did come sprinting toward us, telling us that we needed to get out of the street for our safety. So right now we're basically huddled up at C Street and First Northeast in front of the House, or rather the Senate, Dirksen Senate building, with some staffers who also have no idea what's going on, but they're